Correct.
Wonderful, great. Well, look, guys. Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Ian Bonnick, or RIB, calling to you from Bali. I know this is a very cool thing because it's a great way for us all to connect. And I've watched a few of the speakers before, not the last one, but the guys before that. Some really amazing information being shared. So all I want to do is just to add to that. So I'm talking about, I'm getting someone to admit, I'm going to talk about the rise of what I call Resilio-Consciousness in the new model of business. So I'm going to run straight into this because I thought I had about an hour, but I realized it's half an hour. So I'm going to run straight into this and we'll get going. So let's move on. So now this masterclass, let me see now, what is it about and who is it for? So this masterclass, I'm a speaker, inspirational speaker and inspirational coach, but we'll get to that later on. So this masterclass, right, what it's about, obviously we're in a situation which is quite unprecedented. I know that word has been used a lot, but it's a great word and it really does describe what's going on now. So the people that I'm coaching at the moment, what's coming up a lot is this challenge of the future, or this fear of the future, or this embracing of the future. And I found that people are in different places. And out of all of the qualities and skills that we naturally have hardwired into our DNA, I think resilience right now is one of the most powerful and one of the ones which is most needed. So who's this masterclass for and what is it about? It's about resilience, definitely. Who is it for? It's for everybody, really, because we all need resilience, whether it's personally, individually in our lives, whether it's related to being involved in a company that we work for, whether we're working at home, whether we're working in kind of very small partition spot, whether we're remotely working, which I think is true for most people. So the masterclass is really for all of us, and it's about resilience. So I'll move on to the next thing. So as I mentioned before, resilience. So the thing which I come across quite often is that people wonder, that they're reaching outside for resilience. They're reaching outside for courage. They're reaching outside for all of these different reasons, for all these different qualities. But what I found is that we actually have them all within us, right? It's just that with something like resilience, what I find is that, and in my life as well, which I'll get into a little bit later on, I found that what it takes is a challenging situation or a circumstance for us to go into that mode where resilience is uncovered. So what I want us to really get hold of right now is that resilience is within us. It's not something we need to reach outside of us. It's within us. It comes from within us. It's hardwired within us. And, usually it's a time of either great stress or great challenge where we really get to touch. We begin to uncover these layers of what I call bullshit, and we really get to touch and to tap into this remarkable energy that we all have within us. So neuroplasticity. So we had a few speakers before which went into the neuroplasticity of the brain and why it's important. So for those of you who missed that, neuroplasticity, there's a great book I read a while ago called The Brain That Changes Itself, which for me was probably one of the first books, about neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity in its purest sense just means the plasticity of the brain. In other words, the brain that controls, pretty much all of our bodily functions and movements, okay? It's a fact that our brain is plastic, which means that it's always growing, it's always moving, it's always changing. So it adapts to the environment that we put ourselves in. So what the book kind of goes into is a couple of situations where people which have lost parts of their brain have grown parts of their brain back again. And those parts of the brain were related to different parts of their body. And that could be to do with locomotion, could be to do with, in some situations, actually even grew back limbs. And there's empirical evidence which actually shows that. So it's amazing. And this plasticity of the brain, so I'm 50 years of age, right? And for a lot of people, I remember when I was growing up, when I was younger, I used to think that 50 was really old, right? Now I'm here, I don't really think 50 years. You call me biased if you like. But what I found is that, again, you know, what you don't use, you lose. So with the brain, you know, to tackle these incredible motor neuron type diseases, you know, things like dancing, you know, things which use this parts of our brain, because locomotion, dancing is an extremely complex movement. But when we do a lot of it, we find that we begin to use and tap into parts of our brain that perhaps become dormant. The more we use, the more we get back. The more we get back, the more we realize that we don't lose. It's just a case of us tapping into that. So I'll get more into that in a second. So that's neuroplasticity. Now, the rise of Resilio-Consciousness. Thank you. Resilio-Consciousness. Now, does anyone have a question, by the way? Because I've seen the thumb go up. No, but that's a thumb up. Okay, good. Thank you. So Resilio-Consciousness. So Resilio-Consciousness is a term which came to me when I was doing another masterclass, and it just popped in my head. So I just went with it, right? So now I'm going with it again. But what do I mean by Resilio-Consciousness? Okay, so what I mean is that it's a conscious, okay? So it's a conscious activation of our resilience, okay? It's a conscious activation of our resilience. So I'll tell you a little bit about me now. So as I mentioned before, my name is Robert Ian Bonnick. So I've written this book, which I'll hold up if you can see. So this book is called Soul Survivor: How an Abandoned Child Went from Nothing to Everything. And that kind of sums up my story. So I grew up for 18 years in a children's home in London, and not many things were expected of me in life. You know, a lot of the guys I grew up with, there was 18 kids at any one point in time. I was always the youngest one. I was bullied, had all different types of things happen. But a lot of these kids, they didn't make it. A few died. Literally, one got shot dead, which was absolutely nuts. But you know, in many ways, a lot of these kids, and I saw, because I was there for 18 years, so I saw around about 80 to 100 kids go through that orphanage, and I saw, you know, what happened to them. I saw the results of their behavior. I saw the thoughts of who they were being. Someone else coming in. Sorry, guys, going to admit them. So I saw, you know, the outcome of the decisions that they were making. Okay, I saw all of this happening, and what I realized for me, because you know what ended up happening is that, and I'll fast forward now. So this kid who was shy, this kid who had no self-esteem, this kid who, you know, was really unhappy with the way that I looked, this kid who contemplated suicide on more than one occasion, this kid managed to play basketball for his country. This kid managed to travel to 5 or 6 different countries, to speak 2 or 3 different languages. This kid managed to run a business, co-run a business that was voted number 3 in the world. This kid managed to work with Madonna, work with the supermodels, right? Work with a lot of other famous people. This kid also managed to move to Bali, which is where I am now, and have a family of my own. So I have a wife, and we've got 2 little kids who you might hear in the background at some point because they're quite noisy, right? So this kid managed to achieve a lot, right? A lot of what people really didn't expect, including himself. And what I found was that resilience, you know, I've got in spades, meaning resilience I've got a great deal of, and it was through challenge, right? It was through challenge that I actually came into contact with it, and now it's part of my top values. All right, so that's a little bit about me and a little about what resilience, or the rise of resilience, is all about. So let's move on. Okay, the new model of business. So again, I'm pretty sure all of you here, because you're extremely knowledgeable from the ones that I've been seeing before. The new model of business, obviously we're in it right now. This time is what I call a reboot for humanity. And I'm sure that I'm not alone, right? I'm pretty sure most of us can see that. A lot of us can see that how business was structured and how business was run prior to all of this happening, obviously was unsustainable, right? Otherwise, we'll still be here now, right? So therefore, once we get through this period of time, this reboot for humanity, the way that business is done on the other side of this is going to be different. There's a new model of business which is emerging, which is already emerging now, which will tell us that it's not, we're not going to go back to the same. We're going to go to a new normal. That's where we're heading. And this new model of business is more to do with remote working. This new model of business is more about empathy. This new model of business is more about, how can we work together in a way that's sustainable? Whereas before, I know people, good friends of mine, that would jump on a plane, right, and go for a meeting, right? I lived in Australia prior to living in Bali. They would jump on the plane, to go to London, which is where I'm from, for a meeting, right? And then like 3 or 4 days later, they would have a bit of an overstay in London, as you do. 3 or 4 days later, they'd be flying back, right? The footprint, think of their footprint, right? From an environmental standpoint, it's off the charts, right? People were doing this all the time, right? And these are conscious people, right? But they just got locked into that way of thinking, that same modality of thinking, that same rhythm, that same cycle, that same circle, right? So what I didn't go into, because there's not that much time, is about, in the brain, the studies which have been done about, about synapses, about neurons, about when you get into patterns of behavior, it literally is electrical, right? So impulse is fired, it goes in, and you respond in a certain way, and it becomes part of our unconscious bias, right? Which I haven't got time to go into now, but we'll get a little bit of a Q&A session afterwards. So if you need it, we can get a little bit more deeply into that. So this is what the new model of business is looking like. This is what we're facing. So this is why the key trait of resilience, which we all have hardwired to our DNA, is needed, because we need to be in a place where we can move. We need to be in a place where we can, adopt new skills. We need to be in a place where we can literally embrace change and not fight it. So we need to break, some of these feedback loops that are going on. And this is why it's a new model of business. So moving on. So we must nurture and teach resilience. So as I mentioned before, resilience for me is something which you already have, right? You don't have to go outside of yourself to find it. You don't have to knock on someone's door and say, hey, George, can you give me some of that resilience? You don't go to a supermarket, right, and look in the aisle called resilience and grab some and put it in your basket, right, and then pay for it at the cash register, go home and then play with it. You've already got this stuff pre-wired, pre-installed. It's part of your natural way of being, part of your operating system. That's the good news. So all I'm going to do in a second is I'm going to, pass on a few little tools, but this is stuff we know about already. And these tools are just going to be an access for you to basically pull away the stuff, what I call the bullshit, on top of what is naturally there, and will allow that to naturally come out and flourish. So that's what this is about. So we'll get to that in a second. So as I mentioned before, this new model of business is about remote working. It's about being a self-starter, right? It's about being able to solve problems, solve challenges, because resilience, as we know, is about, I've got a goal, I've got a target, I've got a dream, I've got something I'm heading for, right? Now, if there's roadblocks, or if there's challenges, or if there's things which come in the way, what resilience gives me is an ability to go over, under, around, or through whatever is there to get to the end result, right? To get to the outcome. And this is resilience. And when we're working by ourselves, and we're working at home, and we're working remotely, when there's not, somebody, our boss, or whoever it is, like, sitting on our shoulder going, hey, George, what are you doing? I don't know why I keep saying George, but anyway, it could be, hey, Jenny, right? Hey, Jenny, what are you doing? Have you finished that project, right? We don't have this going on anymore. So we really have to, become, more able to have a certain mastery over ourselves and how we perform in our day-to-day lives without being pushed, without having people literally sitting there checking up on us. So resilience is very important. Self-starting is very important. Problem solving is very important. Emotional intelligence is very important, which we're going to touch on in a second. So these are, I'm trying to give you a framework now, an access towards what you already have inside of you, and we're going to just find different ways to bring it out. Okay, next slide. So resilience training is in response to an uncertain future. Now, uncertainty. When I say the word uncertainty, certain people are going to be like, ooh. Right? That's what I used to be, by the way. If you give me uncertainty, I'm fight, fright, or freeze. That's what the brain does. I would freeze or I would fly the other way, right? Because I wanted certainty, right? I want to know certainty that X and Y is going to happen for me. I don't want to be uncertain. I want to be certain, okay? So now, when you say uncertainty to some people, so uncertainty to me now is quite exciting. I haven't always been like this, right? I had to learn. I had to go through experiences. I had to make mistakes. I had to use courage, which we'll get to in a second. Courage is an access for me to get through. 5 seconds of courage is all you need. It's not about confidence, it's about courage, but we'll get to that. So uncertainty, what we're doing here with resilience is that we're framing uncertainty through a filter of Resilio-Consciousness, which basically means that we embrace uncertainty as possibility. So we embrace uncertainty as possibility. That's where we're going. Okay, next one. So let me check my time. So, okay, 15 minutes, rush through that, that's good. So we're gonna get into some little tools, some little skills, right? Now these are ways to uncover resilience, right? And you can do this right now. And you can get direct results right now. This is the best thing about this stuff. And it's free. And you don't need anyone else to teach you. You've already got it. So this is great. Now I've got some more people joining. Okay, hold on a second. What does it say? Share. Okay, no idea what that means. We'll keep moving on. So resilience. The first thing to embrace resilience, okay, to embrace what's already within you, is to have a long view. So once you have that goal, that dream, the thing that you're shooting for, it can be small, it can be large, doesn't really matter, but it's something that you're going for. It could be to complete a project, for example, by the end of the day. It could be, to start a new business in this area, and I give myself 6 months. Or it could be, like for today, right? Michael asked me, said, "Would you want to do this?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do it, Michael. I'd love to come speak about something. I need to work out what I'm going to talk about." Okay, and I need to find out what that was going to be. So I went, meditated, and came up with this. But at the end of the day, I had something that I was shooting for. Now, long view and mastery go together. So long view and mastery. So if I treat life with a long view, then in the short term, obstacles that come in my way, already by seeing a long view, I treat in a different way. So let me go into a little bit more detail. So if I am very short-term focused, and I've got a challenge that appears to be insurmountable, it's right up in my face, just like my big hand is in my face now. Now, if I've got a long-term view, I've naturally got perspective. I've got perspective. If I haven't got a long-term view, all I see is challenge. I see how tall this thing is. I see how wide this thing is. I see what color this thing is. And all of these things are reinforcing to me how difficult it's going to be to overcome this thing that's in front of me. So when I have a long-term view, then I have perspective. So now I can see that in the scheme of things, this is literally a speed hump on the way to get over there to my long-term goal, all right, or to my goal that I see in a long-term view. So now mastery. So mastery, I love mastery. So mastery is the pursuit of getting better. And that can be incremental, or it can be very large. So there's a game we used to play back in London, and this game is called Snakes and Ladders. I'm not sure if you guys have played it. I hope you have. If you haven't, it's a great game. If you've got kids, teach them Snakes and Ladders. It's great. So the idea of Snakes and Ladders is it's like a checkered board, a bit like chess, but a lot more detail, a lot smaller, tightly more packed checkered. And you've got a piece, you've got a dice or two dice. You throw a number and you count how many spaces you've got, and you're trying to get up to the top corner, top right-hand corner. What happens is that you've got certain obstacles. If you land on a snake, it means you're going to go down. You're going to lose your place. If you land on a ladder, it means you're going to go up. So you can be, 4 or 5 steps, someone else coming in, 4 or 5 steps away from the end goal, and you throw a 2. You land on a snake, and it puts you all the way back down again. It's like, oh, no, right? Snakes and ladders. But what happens is, right, is that you can encounter a ladder also, which can take you up from shortly after the beginning and can take you almost up to the end. Right? So snakes go down, ladders you go up. So life and mastery is a bit like that. Okay, so we learn when we first walk as kids, we fall down, we get back up. We fall down, we get back up. We stand, we balance for a little bit longer. Whoa, we stay up. Okay, I think I've got this now, like riding a bike. So long view, mastery, okay? Embrace mastery, not perfection. Mastery is this pursuit of always getting better, even if it's incremental. And actually, mastery goes even beyond perfection, personal opinion, okay? So I embrace mastery. Third little trick is, what did I learn? So as I mentioned to you before, I grew up in two children's homes from 18, so 6 months to age of 18. I had a lot of challenges, guys. I had a lot of challenges, okay? Probably, possibly more than the average person, okay? But I had a lot of challenges to overcome. But, I had experiences which taught me, which gave me my why. And that's a whole nother conversation. That gave me my why. But one thing which I learned along the way is that whenever I had a setback, I always used to ask myself, what did I learn, right? What did I learn? Because I knew, which I'll get onto in self-talk in a second, what I knew was the most important thing that I could say or that I could recognize is what I say to myself after I acknowledge I made a mistake. Because then I'm talking directly to my subconscious mind, but we'll get onto that in a second. So by asking myself, what did I learn? What I'm doing is that I'm giving myself the ability, my brain, my subconscious mind, the ability to actually look for what did I learn, to look for the lesson, to look for the positives, right? To acknowledge the negatives, you want to call them that, but to look for what did I learn, all right? Very powerful exercise. And that was helped me to grow my resilience. Now, self-talk. This is one of the ones which I think is most misunderstood, and I think the most important one. All right. And again, there's a whole bunch of resilient tools which I've got. I've just cooked 3 or 4 here. So self-talk. So self-talk is that little voice you have in your head. We all have it. That little voice is probably saying something to you now, right? Whatever it's saying, but it's talking to you. Now, your self-talk is a direct access to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind controls 90 to 95% of your life. I haven't got too much time to go into that, but it controls 95% of your life. It's crazy, okay? And your self-talk is talking directly to your subconscious mind. So let me frame it like this. Imagine your subconscious mind is like a child who doesn't know about humor, who doesn't know about sarcasm, who doesn't know, about, I'm just in a bad mood today. So the things I'm saying, are just affected by the mood that I'm in. It doesn't understand anything like that. It's literal. So whatever you tell yourself is what it believes to be true. Worse than that is that then it will go out and it will bring back experiences to you that back up what you've told it that you are. So for example, if I'm a person who says, I'm never going to get this done, I'm shit, I'm not talented enough, I'm not bright enough, I'm not smart enough. All my subconscious mind would do is a little kid going, oh, okay, cool, I'll give you more of that, right? So your self-talk guides your life. It guides your life. So the best way to see self-talk is like this. Imagine that it's your best friend, someone who you love, someone who you care for, someone who you really want to support. And they've just been to a job interview and they've been denied, they've been turned down, they've not got the job, and they're really cut up about it. They're really cut up about it. Like, oh, I didn't get the job, and because you are their best friend, they call you up and say, you know what, I had the worst interview. Like, I just can't do this. I can't do this. Right? Oh, someone else talking. Like I just can't do it. I'm not feeling this. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. This is never going to happen for me. Now, what would you say to your best friend? The chances are, because you're a beautiful human being, that's why you're here, right? You probably say words like, listen, honey, that's not true. You're actually amazing. That job is one job. You're worth so much more than that. And you know what? You're going to look back on this time and you're going to realize that you didn't get that job was a blessing in disguise, because the next job you're going to get is going to be so much better. And what you're going to learn about yourself is so much more important than any job can give you. In fact, why even going for a job? Set up your own company. So you'll be extremely supportive of your friend. Now, this is how you need to talk to yourself. So treat yourself like your best friend, right? This is the key to self-talk. So for example, like somebody might be saying, yeah, but Rob, if I did screw up, I don't want to bullshit myself and say, it's okay, when it's not. So here's a little trick. So what you say is something like this. So my subconscious is telling me now that I suck. Or my subconscious mind is telling me right now that I'm not worthy enough. Or my subconscious mind is telling me right now that I'm never going to be good enough for this. Okay, so this is you acknowledging the negative. We'll call it negative for now. It's you acknowledging the negative. But then what you put in, what you program, what comes next is very important. So you may say, look, my subconscious mind right now is telling me that I suck and I'm never going to get this. But you know what? I've been through worse times than this. You know what? I remember a time where I felt much worse than I do now, and I still managed to overcome it. I remember times when I was really up against it, and I still managed to find a way through. And you know what? I'll do it again now. Okay? So that's a little technique to integrate what you might define as a negative experience, acknowledge it, but leave yourself on a high, on a positive, taking you forward and supporting your own growth, your own evolution, and your own self. All right? Going to quickly check my time. Yep, 3 minutes left. So that's self-talk. Let me just get to this. Okay, so summary. Okay, so the rise of Resilio-Consciousness. So what we're saying here is that it's consciously upgrading your resilience on a conscious level. It's number one. The new model of business. We all know, none of us are naive here. We all know that we're not going back to the way things were. That was unsustainable. And we're in a situation now where we're in a reboot for humanity. A reboot for humanity. So where we're going to be going now is going to be a new normal. It is an uncertain future. So people that we work with, people which we're tied with, our friends, our loved ones, all right? All of those people around us, they treat uncertainty in different ways. Some people embrace it, run with it, inspired by it. They're off, they're going, it's like, yeah, I'm going to make something. Others, remotely working, are getting depressed. They're upset. They're feeling very down. They're feeling very low. Their energy is depleting, right? Their mind is in that negative spiral. And as we know, negatively spiraling mind affects your immune system. Negatively spiraling mind brings your immune system down, brings the potency of your immune system to deal with all the millions of viruses which are already in our bodies, some which are good, some which are not. It depletes, our ability to fight, right? So resilience is very important, right? The self-talk and other things I mentioned is very important for us to really become masters of our own emotional intelligence, okay? And I've given you just a few little tips and a few little tricks to help you to move towards that. But as I mentioned, the self-talk one is key. And it's something that we can all do right now. It's something we can all imbibe right now. It costs us nothing. We don't have to see anybody. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to do anything except those little tricks which I gave you around self-talk. And it's really self-talk, again, I spend more time in it than the other ones because I think it has the most power and ability to change our lives one day at a time, okay? So resilience training. And look, so this is me, Robert Ian Bonnick. As I mentioned before, I'm an inspirational speaker, an inspirational coach, author of this book, Soul Survivor, How an Abandoned Child Went From Nothing to Everything. And look, you know, what I love about life is that, you know, in my life, I've worked with celebrities, I've worked with, you know, plumbers, laborers, you name it. What I found is that important thing, we're all the same. We all have the same challenges that we're dealing with. Sure, someone who's on TV and got all that stuff is dealing with a different form of the challenges that maybe you and I are dealing with, but we all have it. You know, it's something that unites us, you know. And when I saw that, it made me smile. I've grown up with criminals, with drug dealers, and I've spent time with millionaires, billionaires, and celebrities. I've spent time with so many different types of people, lived in different types of countries, and I've come to the understanding that we're all motivated by the same things. We all want to be loved. We all want self-acceptance, learn to accept ourselves as we are without wanting to change ourselves, right? So it's powerful because, you know, I get a chance to push that message, to let people see themselves so they can uncover the onion layers of programming that they've put on there, because we're born perfect anyway, right? When I mean perfect, I mean we've got everything that we need. It's just that society puts on a layer. Our friends put on a layer. We put on a layer. And we're just getting further and further away from ourselves. So what I do is I spend time pulling back those layers and letting our own natural consciousness, our own natural energy, our own natural ability to solve anything that we're faced with to come out and to drive us on whichever journey, whichever direction that we want to take our lives, right? So look, winding this up. So, and we'll get to the Q&A if we have a chance, which I don't think we do, but just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank Michael for inviting me to come and speak. I really trust that the intention of what I wanted to bring was to give you, you know, an insight into resilience, an insight into how you can cultivate resilience for yourself, an insight to understanding that resilience is already part of you. You don't need to reach outside for it. It's already within you. You just have to. And I've given you a few little skills there, or a few little tips to call upon the resilience that you naturally have, which, again, you're never given any more than you can face in your life. You're never given any more than you can handle. So we need to tap into yourself and realize how amazing you are, because we're all connected to something much greater. This field of intelligence, right, that is unending, right, that has more power, more energy than we can ever realize. But it's fun. Get on that journey to see how much we can. All right. So, take a deep breath. Woo. Any questions, or is the other speaker here already? There we go. All right. All done. Great. Okay, so is the next speaker here? It's Cam. Your energy is like an espresso. Thank you very much indeed. It's funny, like most of the time I'm like this. It drives my partner nuts. But when I need rest, I go deep into rest. Right? So I'm not always like this 100%, but probably 80% of the time, you know. It's just something, I've got such a zest for life because I've seen life taken away from people. I've seen such extreme situations and circumstances. And I promise myself, if I ever get out of this, by the way, you never get out of life alive. So just accept that one. If I ever get out of the situation, the orphanage that I was in, you know, I promised myself, right, that I would, number one, never forget where I'm from. Number two, I'd always remember who helped to get to where I am now. Number three, I'd always give back where I could without the expectation of getting something back in return from that person. And that's how I've lived. It served me so well. I've made lots of mistakes. I'm still making amends for some of them, but it doesn't stop me. You know, I just keep on going. And I know that if I keep on going, I'll get whatever it is. And if I surrender in those moments as well, then it all comes. It all comes. Okay. Gino, how you doing, brother?
Hey, so what are you working on now?
Okay, right now, I've got a few things I'm working on. One is an app, which is like a networking app, which brings people together with things that they need, people and resources. That's one. Number two, I'm a big event organizer. So I do a lot of community activity. At the moment, I'm just pitching a massive NGO hub to help to rebuild Bali, right? And it's providing, because I work with the Tomorrow group, an incredible group. And yeah, it's an idea which I'm going to pitch, not a week on Monday, actually. And ideally, we get the thumbs up, and that will become, you know, a place where we can help to rebuild Bali and bring all the NGOs in, provide the space, activities, opportunities to network and to help Bali come up again. Because as I said, I live in Bali.
Where in Bali where in Bali are you based?
Yeah, so just outside of Canggu. So not in Canggu, just a little bit north. Yeah, yeah, and it's great. Like where I am right now, it's rice paddies everywhere. You know, it's amazing. It's just like close to where there's a place called Pereiranan or Pereiranan. Yeah, very close to there. Very close. And how about you, Gino? Where are you based?
I'm in Hong Kong.
Ah, okay.
And actually, the app that you're doing, there are actually quite a few initiatives in that area.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And I'll send you a couple links related to that. So communities and projects and linking projects and people with resources. That's the app that you're working on right now?
Yes. So there's two. So one, and they're slightly separate. So one is that the resources to rebuild Bali. That's an NGO. That's not necessarily an app at the moment, but could become one. So that's one. And then the other is it's an app which is about so it's about creating an ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, we have a number of different elements inside of it. So one is it's a networking platform. Another one is, so it'll be a place for speakers and thought leaders to come to share inspirational messages. And that could be in the form of masterclasses and so on. And then there's another one, which is about products and services. So then it allows the transmission of certain products and services through which the network can also be a part of, in terms of they can purchase it, but there's different ways to purchase. It's not just monetary. It can be, there's other ways to purchase. Yeah, so that gives you a little bit of background.
But right now your main gig is as a coach?
Yeah. So my main gig at the moment is as an inspirational speaker and inspirational coach. And then we have a company as well, which I'm a consultant. And that consultant, for example, to Tomorrow Gallery, Tomorrow Group, is in basically how it's a community hub. And it's basically how do we bring more community to it, but also around family. So family, community, and shopping as well. So it's a very interesting project.
For the local community in Bali. Do you know Ryan Fix in Bali? Who's got this pure community?
No, I don't think so.
There are a lot of these lists, and right now it's interesting in their thread. It's a lot of people in Bali, and they've been tapping the expat network, and because of the COVID situation and tourism crash in Bali, they've actually been getting together and buying groceries for a lot of the local families. So they're really coming together in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I'm very happy. We've been here for 3 years. My partner's born in Jakarta. Our 2 kids were born in Australia, even though I'm English. You know, so we've been here for that period of time. And what I've noticed is that, you know, there's a great capacity for human beings to do a lot of good stuff together. And what this whole situation is doing is it's creating opportunities for that to happen. And more recently, as you mentioned, this guy, Ryan, I probably know him, because if he's been here for a while, I've met most people here. You know, I've got 5 or 6 friends which are here, all setting up and starting initiatives. You know, there's Sophie from the Yak magazine who's doing some great stuff. There's my friend Kylie, who's another coach, who's doing some amazing stuff. And there's, again, another 4 or 5, I won't mention all of them. So I started a group called Speak Up Monday. Speak Up Monday is a platform for speakers to come and share messages. It's been going for a year, and it was offline, but now it's all online. This week we've got an Indonesian hero. So Matilda Dwi Lestari, who's a friend. She's the first Indonesian woman to climb the 7 highest mountains in the world, including Everest. So we have her on the show. We had Mikey Moran, who most people know, who's the co-founder of Gojek, who's like an $8 billion company. And we had 48 other speakers. We're up to number 53 now. 48 other speakers from all levels of human consciousness, business. We had a free diving world champion, Julia. And because Bali attracts some amazing, inspiring people, you know, who are thought leaders, who are out there doing stuff, right? And it's just got this, I don't know why. I've lived in different countries, like most people here probably have as well. But there's something about this area. It might be the geothermal activity, the kinetic activity, but there's something going on. You know, 5 different religions actually, truly cohabit, live together. They're all respected on the calendar. They've all been given their traditions, their date. You know, like when we're trying to hire people, it's a nightmare. Because it's like, well, which religion are these guys? Because if we have all Hindu, when it comes to the Hindu holiday, we're stuffed. We've got no one to work. Right? It's the only country that I've known that we had to give it that type of priority in thinking, right? But it's beautiful because, like, again, some of the things which I've seen, some of the things which I've experienced, and I believe that I've experienced a fair share of things here is taken to another level. And if you come here with that good deeds, good actions, good thoughts, good intentions, like Bali kind of takes you, gives you a big hug, and multiplies those things to the power of whichever level of game you want to play. Whereas if you come here with the opposite, it spits you out in ways. I've witnessed some spit outs of Bali that I've never seen before. It's like, wow, you know, it's amazing. But there's something here, and you know, I'm loving it. I'm still exploring it. I always will be, but I'm that kind of person, you know. I'm mastery, right? I'm into mastery. I'm into getting better every day. I'm into learning in all areas. I've made lots of mistakes. I probably will make more, but I take the experience, right? I'm still making amends for some of them, but again, you know, like I try my best to make amends for them, but it doesn't stop me. So yeah, I'm loving life. You know, 50 years on this planet, it's great. You know, and being here is something else, really. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
Blessings, man. And thank you for you. I've seen you through the other various speakers, and mate, you have a lot of love to give, a lot of things to contribute. Man, I definitely want to be around you more, Gino. Whether that's in Hong Kong or online or offline, whatever, I don't care. I love being around people which are up to things, which have got their alignment going, right? In that direction of how can we grow? How can we do things better? How can we do things more sustainably, ecologically? How can we support one another, right? How can we maximize? How can we help each other to grow and to move to the next level? And that's what you're all about. That's what I've seen pick up in your energy. So for those reasons, that yeah, I'd love to be around you more, man. So yeah, please reach out however it comes. Whether Michael, if you're listening in now, Michael, hook me up with Gino. Let's make this happen.
I sent you a friend request on Facebook already. And then
Awesome.
I'll probably be there sometime this year. I'll definitely look you up.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Thanks to everybody else for listening. Appreciate it.